basically focused on. Let's see one example. The idea of classification system is class means in which particular element the data will go. That we have to do. First of all, the model is required to create, and after model is created, then we are going to do the classification. So one small example I have mentioned over here, how the classification system using new base classifier will work. Okay, that I will show by this example here. So in the data set, for example, I'm having these are the employer data set, and the employer data set contains the information about employees where the age and salary of the employees are mentioned. So I just plotted the data of employees on this two-dimensional plane, where on x-axis we can see the age and on y-axis we can see the salary. So age is incrementing in this direction and salary is incrementing in this direction. Okay, and there are two different kind of employees are there. But the first category of employee used to drive to come to the office. They are having their own car, and another kind of employee which are shown in red color, they used to walk to come to the office. They are shown, okay, they are here, this one, red cross and the green cross. They are the drivers. They are having their own car coming to the office, and these are the employees. They are coming to the office by walking. Okay, so this is my original data which I'm having with me. Okay, now using the concept of conditional probability, now I have to do I have to do some operations here for classification system. Now see, this is my probability, and now what I want to do, I just want to check classification system means in which particular class the new data will go. For example, a new employee joined in the company, and using these particular features, age and salary of that particular person, I want to predict in which particular class, driver class or walker class, in which particular class the employee will fall into. That I have to identify. So whether it is the driver category or walker's category. So using the Bayesian probability theorem, we can find this particular class of the employee by this method. So we are having the probability theorem with us, and if you're putting it together, what we are going to find, what I want to find. Okay, the employee particularly is in walker category. Okay, the new employee X is in walker category, that I want to identify. What is the probability that this employee is a walker, means he will come to office by walking, or what's the probability that he will be coming to office by driving, like that. So here we are putting it, P of walks given X is equal to P of X given walks into P of walks divided by P of X. So three things, we are going to find the posterior probability of walker, means being that element in walker category, is equal to P of X given walks into P of walks divided by P of X. So all the values given, likelihood, prior probability, and the evidence, that is called as maximum likelihood, that can be considered, and with the help of it we can identify that this new element is in which category, in which class it's present, whether walker or driver. So we are going to check it for both the classes, P of walk and P of drives also. Now let's see this one. So I have plotted this data already we are having, and you can check it out. The new class point is present here. This is the new class point. Okay, so it's plotted at this particular position, at this point, this location. It's almost, you can check it's at the boundary. It's on the boundary of the both of these classes. Here we have red walkers and green are drivers. So what can be the class of this data point is? Check the step by step. Here I just identify the location of the respective point on a two-dimensional plane. It's not compulsory, only two features are there. Features can be anything, means any number of input can be there. So here only two inputs are considered, that is age and the salary. Age is input and salary is also input. Two inputs are there. Based on that, this data is plotted here. Now using the Bayesian theorem, we'll find the probability of being in walker and the driver. Let's see the first one. Before proceeding, we are clearing the names here. We just know that first of all we have to find the prior probability. Prior probability means probability of a respective class out of all the classes, out of all the data, respective class. That is prior probability, number one. Then number two, we are going to calculate the evidence, which is called as the marginal likelihood. Marginal likelihood, P of X. And then we are calculating the likelihood. Likelihood is Just like P of X when walks, means out of all the walker, what are the similar observations are there? That we have to identify. That is likelihood. And accordingly, we are finding the posterior probability. So all these technical terminologies are known to us already. I just want to make sure in what sequence we are going to calculate. Prior, then marginal likelihood, that is evidence, then we have likelihood, and then we are going to use the posterior probability, finding all these values together and calculating with the theorem. Now the first one. Okay, before proceeding, the second one, drivers also. We are going to make it for both driver. In step 1, we are going to find the walkers. Step 2, we are going to find the drivers. Now, done. And after that, in step 3, we are going to compare it, P of walks and P of drives. So both, what's the probability in driver, what is probability in walker. And accordingly, after comparison, we can identify where the high probabilities are there. In that class, it will finally go. Okay, that is what the concept of driver and the walker. Yes, let's continue. Okay, so step number 1, the first that we are calculating is the prior probability. Prior probability, for which class you are calculating this probability. So what is its probability there? That is called as prior probability. So what is the probability of walker? So how many walkers are there? Total walkers are 30. Sorry, 30 observations are there. And out of all, how many are walkers? Means what's the probability of that class? It is 10. Probability of that class is 10, means 10 out of 30. So 0.3 will be the probability of walker. This will be the prior probability of the respective class. Okay, 10 out of 30 prior probability. Now second, we are going to calculate the evidence, that is marginal likelihood, P of X. How it's calculated? Out of all the observations that we have, out of all the data set that we are having, how many number of similar observations are there? How many number of similar observations are present? So P of X is equal to number of similar observation divided by total observations. That is P of X is equal to 4 divided by 30. 4 means a similar observations they are taken around. Here your new element is present. Okay, new element is present. Around that element, what are the similar observations are there? So 4 similar observation, maybe that will be more also if you just increase the size of the area presented there. Okay, so 4 out of 30 are the similar observations. That is your evidence. It's evidence to find. This is marginal likelihood we consider. Okay, then third step. Okay, so that is the likelihood. Now likelihood is very important to note. Likelihood should be maximum as possible. It is maximum. It's maximum there. Probability of being in that class improves. Probability in that class improve. We'll see the mathematical introduction to that one also after this concept. This we generally call it a discriminative probabilistic model. Why and how, that also we will see. So the P of X we're given walks. So how it's calculated? So in total similar observations are 4. Total number of similar observations among those who walk, 4 are there, and out of 4, 3 are walkers. Out of 4, 3 are the walkers category, similar observations, divided by total number of walkers. Means out of 10, 3 are similar classes to the class that we are going to predict. Okay, the 3 divided by 10 will be your likelihood. Okay, likelihood. Thus we can see over here, P of X given walks is equal to 3 divided by 10. That is the third value that we got. And putting all together, put the prior probability, put the marginal likelihood or evidence, put the likelihood of it. If we put all them together, we will get the posterior probability. That is the element X is in walker category. What is the probability of it? It is 0.75. That walker is X. 0.75. It means that 75% probability hai ki the element will go into the walker category. That is the conditional probability that we are talking about. Conditions. On this condition, we are finding the probability of walker. Okay, that is 0.75. Fine, the first class probability. Now, if you just go to the second one, That is again putting all together for driver category. Okay, so what is the probability that this element in driver category, driver class, can put it all together? Prior, evidence, likelihood, and posterior probability. If you put all them together, then you can see this one. Posterior probability is equal to 1 out of 20. See here how where changes are there. These two are changing. Below is same. Margin likelihood is same. It's out of all 34 are the similar observation. That is okay. But out of 4, only 1 is the likelihood. It means only one element out of 20 is similar to that. One element out of 20 is similar to that. That is 1 divided by 20. Into out of 30, 20. This is the prior probability of the class drives. Prior probability of the class drives. And if you put them together, so we will get 25% probability is that we are in the driver category. So obviously 75-25 is there. 100% if you combine all together. It's a case for every classification algorithm that whatever probability that you find, it is in the if you combine all together, we'll get the 100% there. We'll see this is a discriminative model basically. Loess segregation also there, that also we'll see in linear models, that is generative model. Okay, but both generative or discriminative models of probability based classification systems, when you combine the probability of all the classes together, will get 100%. Fine. So 20% probability is there that this element is in driver category. So if you compare all together, both of them, 75% against 25%, the class of the data, the new data point will be in the walker. So he will be walker, he will be red. See this. This is the method by which the classification is done with the help of new Bayes classifiers. So using the Bayesian probability theorem, the new Bayes classifier is created, and this is how the classification of the respective data is done using the Bayesian classifier. Fine. Okay, so let's see, this is basically when you use a new Bayes classifier, Gaussian new Bayes classifier is there, and many more different kind of data distribution is present. How the data is actually distributed, where high probability is there, where low probabilities is there. Like if you just check it out, just like a KDA plot which I have shown there, that is showing the distribution of the data, how the data is distributed, how it's well distributed. And this data distribution will show you which kind of classifier is better suited for you. The example which I shown over here, it is considering the data is in normal distribution. That is what we call as Gaussian distribution. Okay, data is in normal or the Gaussian distribution format. So you can see this. This is one normal distribution. This is what we have seen, chi-square distribution. Okay, and many such kind of distribution of data is possible here. Uniform, Bernoulli, binomial, Poisson, exponential, geometric, Weibull, beta, gamma, chi-squared, log, normal, students t. Like all. And most of the data that we use, we have to identify as a normal distributed. And what will happen? See, when you normalize the data by using the z-score or by using min-max scaling, data will automatically be normalized. Okay, and after that we can apply the specific kind of algorithm. There are 4 kind of new Bayes classifiers are there. Based on the data distribution, we use that particular classifier. The example which I have shown, it is for Gaussian distribution, that is normal distribution data that is considered. Okay, if the data is not normal distributed, then what will happen in that case? See, for example, the data set which I have shown over here. Wait a minute. Take this. We have normalized the data using z-score. Okay, which you have just seen in the previous example, and you can see this one now. We'll go to that again here. Okay, so for example, if I take this data scaled and if I use it 0, okay, this is your data, and I'll write the KD plot for this data. See, kernel density estimation, that KD plot will show the distribution of the data there. See this scale data. This is almost this data distribution that you have seen before z-score and after z-score. You just compare it. See, this is one. before Z score and after Z score. How much distributions difference is there? This is equal to normal, but if it exactly normal, perfect bell curve is there, that time that data will generate more and more accurate results. Remember, more accurate results from that. This is what the meaning of it is there. So when the data is normally distributed, that time we'll be getting more accurate results. Okay, so Gaussian distribution is considered by default, but along with that there are many more kind of algorithms are there. I'll see three different kind of commonly used algorithms in the new base category. See this one, commonly used algorithm which are present. The first is multinomial new base classifier. See this, multinomial new base. Multinomial, it's mostly used in document classification problem, that is the natural language processing. Data is in textual format, and then you have to do the classification. So that time new base classifier of multinomial new base is used. Whether a document belongs to category sport, politics, technology, data is not structured, unstructured data, where we have to do text analytics first. You have to convert it into the structured format, and then after you apply the classifier, that is multinomial new base is used. So in this feature and predictors used by the classifiers are the frequency of words present in the document. Means what's the frequency of the word present there in the document. Based on that, multinomial classifier will perfectly do the classification of the document in respective categories: sports, politics, or technology. Okay, like it's called as multinomial new base. Now connected to that, we have another Bernoulli's new base. Bernoulli. Now Bernoulli's new base is similar to multinomial new base, but predictor are Boolean variables. See, Bernoulli, this one. Two possibilities are there only, 0 and 1. Okay. The parameter that we use to predict the class variable take up to values yes or no. For example, if the word occurs in the text or not. Like binary classification method is that. This is Bernoulli classifier. Bernoulli's new base classifier is used to do the binary classification when the output variables are in the two format, like yes or no, 1 or 0, like that is Bernoulli's, and that case the data is in Bernoulli distribution format. Now third case, this is what we are talked about, Gaussian new base classifier. When the predictors take up continuous value and are not discrete, we assume that these values are sampled from the Gaussian distribution. These values are sampled from the Gaussian distribution. So you can see this one. It's a normal distributed curve, is the data is perfectly distributed. At the center we have mean, maximum values are gathered around the mean perfectly, and then distribution is like in bell curve format. That time Gaussian new base is used. So by using the plot, we can just identify how the distribution of data is present. Okay, how the distribution of data is present, and based on that we can identify the kind of classifier that we have to use it here. Okay, so three different kind of Bayesian new base classifiers are there. So based on the data distribution, these respective classifiers can be used to perform the classification of the data. So there are certain advantages of using the new base classification statistical methods here. So when assumption of independent predictors holds true, new base classifier perform better as compared to other models. Independent predictors, that is your input variables, that time, so it will perform better than others. Even new base requires small amount of training data to estimate the test data, so training period is less. Training period is less means this is one of the algorithm. Actually, the rule of predictive modeling is that whenever you have to do the predictive modeling, you should have sufficient number of test entries with you, training entries with you, not test, training entries should be there with you. But if that data are not that much high, then also new base classifier will perform good accuracy. You can find some examples are there. They are mentioned on sklearn. I'll show the example when you actually see the new base classifier. Practically, I'll show you. They are mentioned on sklearn site. All four classifier. One more is there. I think complement new base is there. Bernoulli new base, complement new base, Gaussian new base, and multinomial new base. Very small data set dimension with the help of 10-20 entries only, the classification system will be created, and we can do the classification using the respective Naive classifier. Okay, and easy to implement. It's one of the means directly formula is there, and with the help of that we just calculate the probability of a respective class. Okay. Disadvantages. So the main limitation of the new base is the assumption of independent predictors. Assumption of independent predictor input variables. It implicitly assumes that all the attributes are mutually independent. Independent, all means input internal data that we have, they are independent of each other. Like there is no any correlation between them. So in real life, it is almost impossible to get such set of predictors which are completely independent. Fine. This is an assumption that Naive Bayes classifier actually does. Fine. Then if the categorical variable has a category in the test set which was not observed in the training data set, then model will assign to 0 probability and will be unable to make the prediction. Obviously, this is not for the same predictive model algorithm here, but for almost all the algorithms. If in the test data, training data set, that category is not present, then how the prediction is possible? They will not predict, because how many categories are there, how many classes are there, that classes should be known to the respective predictive modeler like Naive Bayes. If it is known, then only it will do the prediction in that particular class. Okay, and if it is not, obviously every time we'll get a 0 probability in that particular class. So whenever you build the predictive model using the Naive Bayes classifier, the entries of all the categories classes should be present inside it. Fine. So this is what we know as a 0 frequency. To solve this, we can use smoothing technique. So one of the simplest smoothing techniques called a Laplace estimation. This is required there. So with Laplace estimation, we can slightly improve the accuracy of the Naive Bayes classifier in such kind of situation that training data doesn't contain the class, and then testing we are going to make use. There we can Laplace estimation is possible, and with this we can predict that class also, but still then accuracy is not achieved up to the mark. Fine. Okay, so this is what the Bayesian classifiers are. Now using the Bayesian concept, the Bayesian networks are created. Bayesian networks are the probabilistic graphical model that capture the known conditional dependence with directed edges in the graph model. Maybe somewhere if you have seen that, this depends upon that. So they are connected by the line. Like directed graphs are there. These directed digraphs are used to show. So these diagrams will create a Bayesian network that shows the dependency of different things together. Fine, dependency. So all missing connections define the conditional dependencies in the model. Conditional dependencies, remember, it depend upon that. So you can find a arrow for that, depend on this. Like if you have seen different kind of graphs in modeling also, so we want to show the connectivity of them, just like inheritance concept. So this class is inherited from this, so they're dependent. Okay, basically if a below class has to use from upper class, you need to connect them. If there is no connection present there, it is of no use. So this method is using Bayesian network. Bayesian network provide a useful tool for visualizing probabilistic model for domain review on the relationship between the random variable and a reason about causal relationship for scenarios given with available evidence. So Bayesian network will picturize you, just like it might be saying picture says more than words. Why? Because looking at the picture, you can identify, yes, this is what exactly we want to say, particular person want to say, or what we want to interpret. That also you can identify with the help of the network, with the help of the picture. So that connectivity, that dependency, we can find with the help of the network, and that network we call as the Bayesian network. Okay, so Bayesian network is to show that dependency. Let's talk about more detail. Probabilistic modeling. See, the concept is based on probability, means not 100% it's there. Means I have made a decision. Okay, I have not having any confusion in mind. So 100% probability is there. I am taking this decision. Correct. 100% probability. I am taking this because I'm not even thought of a second decision there. But what probabilistic model does, they're having confusion in mind. Those are artificial, but they're having confusion in mind. See the example which I have shown, they are having 75% for one class and 25% for second class. Correct. Which means that they are having confusion in mind, technically speaking, confusion in mind that 25% second class is there. It is the confusion that we can say. Fine, confusion is there. So for every probability model, same concept is there. Even when you do the things practically, you will get that key probability of first class is this, second class is this. The difference is that one probabilistic model will tell 80-20 and second will tell 60-40. Output is same because 60 and 80 are more in both of the situations. Fine. So most often the problem is lack of information about the domain required to fully specify the conditional dependence between the random variables. If available, calculating the full conditional probability for an event can be impractical. Full conditional is not completely possible. 100%, just like told, I am firm with my decision. 100% probability is there, but computer systems, they are not. They are partial. Their algorithms are actually created like that. They are partially giving the answers. Remember, but though that partially they are above 50%, that's why the result is in that particular category. Fine. There's a common approach to address these challenges to add some simplifying assumptions, such as that all the random variables in the model are conditionally independent. Conditional random variables inputs, all they are conditionally independent. This is a drastic assumption, although it proves useful in practice, providing the basis for the new Bayes classification problems. An alternative approach is to develop a probabilistic model of a problem with some conditional independence assumptions. This provides an intermediate approach between fully conditional model and the fully conditionally independent model. That may be possible. Means some extra, what we say, the decorations are required, mathematical decorations are required, statistical decorations are required there. Then only the algorithm will firm on 100% on that particular decision. That's what the probabilistic model is containing there. Now, if you want to put that in the graph format, so we call it as the PGM, probabilistic graphical model, or simply graphical model for short. It's a way of representing a probabilistic model with a graph structure. The nodes in the graph represent random variable, and the edges that connect the node represent the relationship between the random variables. Okay, variables. So variable A, variable B. Okay, so if you start like drawing an arrow A to B, so you can identify that the B is dependent on A, like that. So relationships are there. Means if A, then only B, like it. That kind of nodes are there. That node represent the random variables and edges that they connect. So the relationship that they are connected. If, for example, A, B, C are there, A is connected to C, A is connected to B, but B and C are not connected to each other. It means that B and C are independent of each other. This is what the concept of conditional probability are represented in the form of a graph. So the graph contains the nodes we call as the vertices. They connected with the links which are known as edges or the arcs. Okay, maybe it's everyone artistic idea. Arcs can also be there. So in probabilistic graphical models, as such, each node represents a random variable or a group of random variables, and link express the probabilistic relationship between the variables. That's what I mentioned over here. So Bayesian network is forming is comprising of all of these things. Node, random variables in the graphical model, and the edges. There's called a relationship between random variables in a graphical model. So in PGM, that nodes and edges are contained. They are represented by this particular format. Now, using this particular concept, the Bayesian network, or we call it BBN in short, Bayesian belief network is created. BBN. So it provides a simple way for applying Bayes theorem to complex problems. Bayes theorem to complex problems. So how it's possible? Because the Bayesian belief network shows the dependencies of the nodes. Once the dependency of the node is known, then it'll identify that B depend on A. So see, like P of B given, sorry, P of A given B, it means that A is containing the B condition, and on B condition we are identifying the A present there. So this dependency we can identify with the help of a network, with the help of a connectivity line. So A and B will be connected with an arrow that we can find. So networks are not exactly Bayesian by definition, although given both probability distribution for the random variable, that is nodes, and the relationship between the random variable, that is the edges. They are specified subjectively. The model can be thought to capture the belief about the complex domain. Belief about the complex belief. I believe that this dependency is there. Okay. Basically, that's what they are called as the belief network. So Bayesian probability is a study of subjective probability or belief in an outcome compared to the frequentist approach. We'll talk about that. I'm having this frequentist approach where probabilities are based purely on the past occurrence of the event. Exactly. Past occurrence of the event. We are using that idea, these probabilities are identified. Okay, so Bayesian probability, not only that one, in every what's say predictive modeling of statistics concept where probability concepts are used, they are based on the previous beliefs here. See, many are there, like we are having some probability based models here with very commonly new Bayes and logistic regressions are there, and apart from that some more modified statistical models, predictive models are also created. They are also based on the probability of this. So what past occurrences are there, what was happened previously, based on that is probabilities are identified. Based on that only these probabilities are identified, remember. Okay, so these networks, so Bayesian network provide useful benefit as the probabilistic model. For example, three different benefits are there. First is visualization of it. The model provides a direct way to visualize the structure of the model and motivate the design of new models. That is the first advantage we can get from the BBN. Visualization, direct way to visualize the structure of the model. Second one is relationship that we can know. Summary relationship. See, rather than looking the data as a whole, okay, last time we have talked about it. Data visualization. Summary of data. Complete structure of the data that we can see with the help of the visualization method. So relationship can be seen. It provides insights to the presence and absence of relationship between the random variables. Okay, whether relationship is there or not, that we can identify. Second, third, computations. It provides a way to structure complex probability calculations. All kind of probability calculations are done. Complex probability or some simple probabilities are there. That calculations are done with the help of Bayesian belief network. So these are the many benefits that we can get with the help of this particular structure here. Now to build the Bayesian belief network, designing it, so at least three things are required. At least three things are required. The first is your variables, your inputs, like random variables. So what are the random variables in the problem? What are the features that we have in the problem? Features which will affect your final output, which are defining the probability of occurrence of a respective event. That is called as the random variables. Second is conditional relationships. What are the conditional relationship between the variables present? These variables depend on that, this variable depend on that, this or that, like conditional relationship between the variables. And third, this is again very important, probability distribution, which are just given the summary of all kind of probability. So probability distribution, what are the probability distribution for each variables are there? Every random variable, first feature, second feature, third feature, fourth. Fine. There should not be any kind of outliers present. Okay, so outliers can skew the results. That is also one of the possibility present there. Fine. That's why it's required to identify the probability of each variable, how distribution of probability is there. Gaussian, Bernoulli, or normal, log normal, Weibull, but many are there, but commonly we consider the Gaussian distribution as I told already. So it may be possible for an expert in the problem domain to specify some or all of these aspects in the design of the model. So what we have mentioned. Most of the time, if you consider all these particular things, random variable, relationship, and probability, then only a perfect model of Bayesian classification system is possible. Perfect model is possible in that case. We consider all three things. At least three things are there. Many more are possible, are also presented there. See the example. We can make a Bayesian network concrete with small example. Check it out here. Let's say I'm having three random variables, A, B, and C. Okay, A, B, and C. Input features that we are having in data set. So A is dependent upon B and C is dependent upon A. A is dependent upon B and C is dependent upon B. So we can state the conditional dependencies as follows. Like the first one I mentioned, A is conditionally dependent on B. So it's like P of A given B. Correct. Conditional dependency, the first case. Second, C is conditionally dependent on B. So P of C given B. Correct. Second, that we can put. And by that we can check one more thing, that C and A have no effect on each other. It's not mentioned there. They're dependent on of each. Fine. So we can also state the conditional dependencies as follows. See, conditional dependencies as follows. So A is conditionally independent from C. A is conditionally independent from C. So you can see P of A given B and C, and C is conditionally independent from A, that is P of C given B and A. Fine. So two things, two different variables are mentioned over here. Conditional independency can be identified because I have combined A and C here. So for this first case, C is added. So with C and A is not having any effect. So if you combine with B, then also there will not be any effect. Same for second case also, P of C given B. Okay, for C is given. Okay, so for A, here if you add this A, okay, then also it will become conditionally independent over here. Remember that. This is how we can identify the dependency and independency, and we can, just like previously we have talked about the combination formula of joint probability. So we can also write the joint probability of A and C given B, or condition on B as the product of two condition probabilities. For example, see this one, P of AC given B is equal to P of AB into P of CB. And the model will summarize the joint probability of P of A, B, C as P of ABC is equal to P of A given B into P of C given B into P of B. Fine. So here A and C are not directly present. That's why this dependency or this probability is not considered finally in the probability of ABC is considered. So this is what the joint probability of all the classes are there by this, and we can convert that in the form of a network. Remember, simplified thing is this. I'm not taking very complex architecture here. This is simplified architecture. That's what we can see. This is the common way to show it. Conditional dependency. So A and C are not having any connectivity present there, but A and B is having, B and C is having, like that. This is a simple structure can be created. This is what we call as Bayesian belief network. So we can check a summary of all joint probability. This probability of all things together will be shown by that. P of A given B into P of C into B and P of B. Right? Because B is conditioned for A also and for C also. Okay, so it's connected there with this, and a common basic structure will be identified. By this we can know that which is dependent on what. Dependencies can be seen. Okay, and if you add more and more nodes, then also the dependency can be easily identified. But that way, your number of number of nodes will grow, and the formulas will become more and more complex to visualize in such kind of cases. Fine. This is what we call as the Bayesian belief network. The Bayesian belief network, which will show, which is a graphical representation, that is what we call probability based graphical model. The probability based graphical model, with the help of that, the dependency, conditional dependencies can be seen. Now, there are, as I told, there are many different models which are present, which are available on the probabilities, and they used to perform the classification of it. Based on probability, they perform the classification. So in general, we are having two different kind of mechanism by which the probability based classification is done. Probability based classification is done. There are two models are there. Out of it, the first is discriminative approach, and the second is generative approach. Generative and discriminative common methods are there. In machine learning, probability model can be defined, can be separated by this method. Now see, Machine learning can learn a random function that maps variable x to variable y using a labeled data set. This is what is machine learning. Fine. So when the probability based models are there, then how they models it? So just consider x and y. Why given that? Because x is the input. X is the input. Okay. Y is the output. That is class. The label of it, and data set is M, where it contains x1, y1, x2, y2, x3, y3, just like salary and experience we have seen. Salary is the y, experience is the x. And likewise, we have some n number of element in this. So M is a data set, n is a number. You can see y and xn is presented here. Like this. Okay, getting. This is common idea of machine learning, and using this concept, two approaches of probability based are mentioned, like generative approach and discriminative approach. Discriminative approach is to learn this one. See, predict y, then given x. So x is input, predict y means probability of y, that is identified with the help of discriminative approach. And second is generative approach. Generative approach is created like learn y comma x. So what is that? Discriminative approach find the conditional probability, and generative approach find the find the joint probability. So that is what the difference that they are having. So some approaches are also followed, which are generative approach, like logistic regression is also followed. That's also find the probability of being in generative, means both of their probabilities are identified by that, not first class and second class. I'll show that example. Linear model, we'll talk about it. It's a linear model, generative linear model is there to find a probability. So by that, discriminative approach follows the conditional, and here joint probabilities are identified. Okay, like learning from that. So you can see here we have a data set which we have just talked about. First feature is one is here, second feature x2 on this. Okay, and there are two classes, the red and blue. See, the red classes are here, they are shown in this oval, and the blue classes are there in the circle. Here are that. So in discriminative approach, when I have to do the predictions, for example, some point is present over here. Okay, so by that conditions are checked. What is the probability that x is in y category? Means in class 1 category, class 2 category. Just like mu base we have seen. And generative approach, we follow the condition probability of both together, y and x. Okay, so to which class it is actually moving, whether class 1 towards class 1 or towards class 0. Based on that, the predictions are done in the generative approach of the probabilistic model. Let's go into more detail. See this. Discriminative approach, so it finds for good fit p of x given y, okay, without explicitly modeling the generative process. Example, see, KNN, LR, SVM, perceptron are there. They are two classes, they separate the class. Okay, linear regression, not a classification algorithm, but it draws a line. That's what is used and shown over here. And the second is generative approach, finds the probabilistic model, a joint distribution that explicitly model the distribution of both features corresponding to the labels. This is the generative approach, remember. And what's the difference between them? Generative approach finds all the parameter, explains all the data. Find the parameter that explain all data, remember. And in discriminative approach, they find the parameter that help to predict the relevant data. Relevant means whole data is not considered there. Relevant data is considered in the discriminative approach. Generative approach, we follow all data sets. Now, in generative approach, it makes use of all the data present, which are shown here, all the data which is given. You can take the input directly and perform operation. So they are flexible framework, and they can incorporate many different kind of the task together, just like classification system. They can do. They can perform regression system. They can perform survival analysis, generating new data similar to existing data set. Like it's called a semi-supervised learning. Semi-supervised means 50% labeled data, 50% unlabeled data. That kind of thing is there. That is semi-supervised learning that can be done with the generative approach. and stronger modeling assumptions are present in generative. Apart from that, if you check the discriminative approach, it find the parameter that help to predict the relevant data only. It learns to perform better on the given task. Weaker modeling assumptions, here above we are strong, here we have weaker modeling assumption. And one important note to note that discriminative approach is less immune to the overfitting. Less immune to the overfitting. The concept of overfitting is like when you build a model, predictive model there, and in predictive model, it performs better for the training data. I apply training data and on that is performing perfectly. But when you apply the testing data, then its performance drastically decreases drastically. So for example, on training data, our accuracy is 98% and testing data it is 70%. This is called as overfitting. So discriminative approach doesn't have this kind of overfitting kind of concepts, because the probabilities are based on the conditions. That's right. Okay. Let's see a small example. Here we are given a data set D of xi with n number of entries as equal to 1 to n. Okay. So for example, xi is the annual income of n individual picked randomly from the large population. Okay. N, there is some thousands of entries that after the hundreds are taken, n is equal to 100 there, and x are the income of that individuals are taken out of it. Now let's see the probability distributions, how they are used, and then we'll talk about the maximum likelihood here. Our goal is to estimate the probability distribution that describe the entire population for which the random samples xi are drawn. Now you can see this one here. This curve already we have seen. What we observe, random variables drawn from the observation like x1, x2, according to that feature, we got these random variables here. And we want to estimate the distribution like this distribution, which is Gaussian. You can check it out in 3 dimensional is shown here. Third dimension I've added as the probability density here, probability densities. So with x1 here, x2 on this side, and where the high probabilities are there, you can observe here on this data set, this probability distribution is something like this. That taken a third dimension. This you can see here on z axis I mentioned probability density. The probability density will be like this one. Fine. Now the models which are used as a part of distribution, parametric families are there. Parametric means with fixed parameter we are just going to find this result. So the key to make progress is stick to the parameters family of distribution, and the formalization that will become as follows. By you can check it out here. We are going to generate the value of theta, identify the value of theta, which is the parameter space, estimating the distribution where p0 belongs to p, estimating the parameter theta will belong to theta. Okay, theta means 2 thetas are mentioned over here, that we can end the conditional independence, which is followed, and with the help of the perfectly distributed data will make use of it, and then accordingly the predictive abilities are given to the particular function here. So we have seen the kind of likelihood. There is a function what as likelihood function which is used. How the family of model P related to the data set D, which is shown with the help of the likelihood function. So with the help of it, the likelihood is identified, and there is a concept called as maximum likelihood. That's also identified with the same. So you can see likelihood function ln of theta D is defined as, so using this function the likelihood is identified. We have seen in the condition of probability the likelihood is present, and that's taken with identified. And remember one more thing, if you is the probability of the respective class being in this class, being in that class, the likelihood plays very important role. It should be as max as possible. It should be as max as possible. If it is maximum, then only the probability of being in that class will be maximum. Okay, this is the common observations. This is the common idea that we need to follow over there, and with this it's possible to find the maximum likelihood. So with maximum likelihood estimator, which is mentioned over here, which we are going to have the argument max on the likelihood function here. Okay, so we'll be finding that theta n here by maximum likelihood function. So it's a frequentist method. So there are 4 parameters by which it makes this frequentist method. Never uses or gives probability of hypothesis with no prior or posterior probability is required in maximum likelihood. It depends on the likelihood of both observed and unobserved data. The third, does not require prior probability, and it tends to be less computationally intensive. Though much computations are not involved there in the frequentist method to find the maximum likelihood. So frequentist measures such as p-values and confidence intervals are often used in the current research practice since the 20th century. It's current in last 4 to 5 years only. This concept of maximum likelihood is more practically used for the predictive analytics, okay, area, the probability based, and then the maximum likelihood, and then we do the predictive analytics on this particular given data. Okay, so before proceeding further, we'll just take a short break of 3 minutes, and then we will continue with the remaining topics here. Thank you.